Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the HCW show. Thanks, everyone that tuned in and watched our news roundup earlier on, particularly the timeline of the Vince McMahon saga, Vince McMahon scandal. Video's doing really well. I'll place a card to it if you haven't seen it already. Please do go and check that one out. Rate and I are quite proud of how that turned out. But that's not why we're here just now. This is the return of TierMaker Tuesdays, and this week we're going through all the wrestling games throughout history. For those that don't know, RGX does stand for Retro Game Exchange, which was my old company name for streaming retro video games. So I have played a very large amount of these. So you will see from your screen already that there are a few in the never played. It's because in general those are ones that are region locked. So the group as a whole, three of us, I've also got RateWrestle and Frozzy on the call, are unlikely to have played these. But by all means, if you'd like to introduce yourself, lads.
Well, I think by now, everyone knows who we are. So, yeah, just casually getting by as we do, and we will hopefully tier these games in a fair way.
It's a real mix of classics and
Yeah.
what the heck's. Yeah. But what about yourself, Ray? You've been enjoying the sunshine today since our news episode earlier?
Yeah, it's been a good time. Had a few beers. I read the rest of the Shawn Michaels book that I had. And now I'm here to rate and tier some games.
So I put these in a certain order. I shared the order with you guys earlier. So we'll start with the main PlayStation line of games. Kicking it off with WWF Attitude on the PS1.
Before we can start, what's the criteria and what's the tiers again?
So it runs from S plus, S, A plus, A, B, C, D, F, and never played. And honestly, it's just their opinion. It'd be unfair to judge on the likes of graphics, gameplay, when you're pitting WWF Super WrestleMania against 2K22.
Yeah.
So
it's just off your enjoyment.
Yeah, a lot of it will be our own personal opinion, our nostalgia for playing the games. If you're that in depth that you care about Metacritic score, we can look it up. But
no,
honestly, I'm not going into that much detail.
As long as Mounts are rated a good game, I'm there.
We'll get to Fire Pro, don't worry. So, kicking off then with WWF Attitude. This was the first of the 3D games, essentially, but did not age well at all if you go back to them now. I'm for it being an innovator, being the first 3D one, I think go right in the middle with C. Don't know about you guys.
Yeah, that was the one with the red background, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like Austin was at the forefront, was it? Was it Austin? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
It was it was passable.
Yeah, I would admit it. I didn't play it that much to kind of go in depth with it, I'll be honest.
No problem. So we'll go C tier then.
Yes.
I'm going to load another internet so I can research these as we go along as well to make sure they're definitely the game I'm thinking of.
Oh, quite right. I encourage it. Next up, we have WWF In Your House. Now, it's the PlayStation box art. I actually had this in the Sega Saturn. And it ran like a bird in a punch bowl. There was constant slowdown. You couldn't have any more than two people in the ring at a time, or it would like slow to a crawl.
Yeah,
It was very much an acclaimed wrestling game.
the best thing about it was on the cover it said, "There goes the neighborhood." That was the best thing about the game.
So I'm tempted to put it a D because although this came after Attitude,
It
it
was,
was almost like an afterthought. Like they were working on Warzone at the same time and
yeah,
just thought, "Oh no, we're running behind in development. Chuck this out there now."
yeah. That's pretty much what happened.
I don't know much about it, I'll be honest, to comment on that one.
So I'll put
No,
it D just now, but it's
Yeah.
very likely that it'll drop a little as we go.
yeah, probably.
Next up, we have WWF Warzone. In my opinion, this improved in almost every aspect of Attitude.
I loved this game.
And I don't know if you remember the video promos that were in it,
Yep.
particularly Ahmed Johnson's promo. That, bear in mind, they're in a studio. They can re-record it.
Yep.
They can edit it, and it still was a stumbly mess.
Yep. I remember they all used to talk, didn't they? And it was wild. I remember thinking, what the hell is going on here?
Farouk's was the best one.
It wasn't damn.
This was before
It's
Dan,
too early
but-
for that. Yeah.
well before Dan, but it was still a great promo.
The Rock was still called Rocky on it.
Yeah, he hadn't joined the nation officially at that point.
No.
But I'm gonna go A.
Yep. Loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. From what I remember, I just had to have a quick. As I said, a lot of these I'm having a quick peek at, but yeah, I remember enjoying it.
Next up is WCW Nitro. It was decent, but I thought the roster was a little lacking on it. And I swear every single wrestler had the same 5 moves with just like 3 or 4 signatures added on.
So the game, whenever it came out, already had the 5 moves of Doom from John Cena.
Worst
And it
of
had
all, Mark
Big
Madden
Show.
on commentary.
Yeah. But it had the Big Show on the cover.
So I'm
Yeah.
gonna go. We're going to put it C next to Attitude. I think I will.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. It could have been so much better.
Even if they included like 6 more wrestlers, I would say.
Yeah.
And one thing I've not touched on yet is the creator wrestler for these games. It's another reason why Warzone is so much higher than Attitude.
Yeah.
It's because the creator wrestler was so much more in depth, whereas it's practically non-existent on Nitro.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
But sticking with WCW, we have Mayhem. In my opinion, this was better than Nitro, but it still wasn't near Warzone in my opinion, so I'm thinking a B.
Yeah, I'd go with that. I mean, like you said, the game, it got better, but it wasn't better enough.
No, yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, I enjoyed Mayhem, but it wasn't fantastic.
One that I felt was a step back, WCW versus World.
I forgot
Damn,
this was
right.
still a thing until you posted the list.
No, I didn't even get around to playing that. I just had a look. That's
Yeah, it wasn't great.
I can tell from the box art being that the PlayStation logo is at the bottom and not on the side. I think this was a regional specific game.
Yeah.
Because most of these are the US box art with the PlayStation logo on the left hand side, which would have been in the sleeve. This one's got a PAL region one where the PlayStation's at the bottom.
Yeah.
So
It was. It just wasn't a very good game.
It's another one that was contractual obligation. I think that they had a contract for so many games to be put out
Yeah.
on PlayStation, and they weren't going to get paid if they didn't put it out,
No.
which happens a lot in franchise games.
Yeah, I definitely didn't play this. I was to say, yeah, I have no opinion.
Yeah.
WCW NWO Thunder is next. The creator wrestler was much better in this one. And there was like backstage areas and stuff that you can fight in.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love this one.
So I'm thinking put it next to Warzone in A tier.
Yeah. I'd
definitely
agree
go
with
with that. Yeah, I really enjoyed the game.
It was a refresh after the last one. It was a refreshing game, so to speak.
Yeah. And the next one in the series, which was a direct sequel to the Thunder, was WCW NWO Revenge. It was essentially the same game with slightly different roster.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put it right next to Thunder.
Yeah.
Though any game with Mark Madden on the commentary team does tend to take a dip, but overlook it.
Yeah, I'm happy to go with that.
Yep. Same. I wouldn't argue it.
Indeed.
Not a hill I'm going to die on.
Backstage Assault, WCW Backstage Assault, sorry, was a lot of fun. But it was quite limited because it was pretty much just backstage matches.
Yeah.
But it was still better than Nitro, so I'm going to put it next to Mayhem and B tier.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
it had a solid concept. I did like of a game, like backstage. Yep, fair enough. But you've still got to have some of the ring stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like as you said, it's very limited. Like as soon as you've done it a few times, it was the same thing.
Yeah.
It was basically a fighting game as opposed to a wrestling game.
Yeah.
Next up, ECW.
I really enjoyed this. I remember. Was it just ECW the game called?
Yeah, the first one. There's 2 ECW games on the PlayStation.
Yeah, no, this one I played a lot. Is it the one with RVD on the front?
Yeah, doing the band Terminator.
Van Damme, yeah, I'd rate this very highly.
Well, this was ECW days, so it was Van Terminator back then. Actually.
Just to be correct.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, no, I definitely rate this high.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it.
Also had the Sheik on there randomly, if you remember, which is hilarious.
So I'm going to whack it on A tier just now then. It
Yep,
may move
100%.
up if A tier gets busy. Next up we have ECW. What one?
Anarchy Rules.
Anarchy Rules, that's the one. I never got to play this, sadly. I've just
Neither
not
did
had
I.
a chance to come back and play it. So, Rate and Frozzy, unless you've played it, I'm going to need to
Wasn't too different to the last one. Not much had changed with it at all. Obviously, you got your roster changes, but in terms of gameplay, it was pretty much the same. It didn't do anything out of the ordinary.
Okay, I'll put it next to it in
I
A
didn't touch
tier.
it.
I'll put it next to it in A tier just now.
I'd probably, what I would do is drop it into B purely because it didn't change and it was meant to be an updated game.
Fair enough. Now, these are ones that I'm sure will be near the top as we enter the SmackDown series. Starting with WWE SmackDown on the PlayStation. Just because it started off, in my opinion, the best series of wrestling games outside of the N64.
Yeah.
Obviously, this was still very much an early game in that series. But
Yeah.
it was an improvement on Warzone in every way possible. Full teams, the Creator Wrestler was the most in-depth you could get at this point outside of Fire Pro.
Yep.
So an A plus for me. Bear in mind
Yeah.
the games that are coming after it are
I was
spoilers
gonna
going
say,
to be in that S to S plus range.
Yeah, I was going to say this wasn't even the best one. It was just the most innovative at the time, and then everything else improved.
Any objections to that, Rate?
No, I'm happy to go with that. Like, I'm pretty much of I enjoy a game or I don't enjoy a game, and I enjoyed the game. That's my opinions.
So SmackDown 2, I'm gonna keep it A plus next to SmackDown just now. Again, it was an improvement, but there were kind of minor tweaks. Though the new reversal finisher system in this game is implemented, I still find if I play a modern wrestling game on a PlayStation, I will instinctively hit R1 to reverse, even though it's not been that for 3 generations console.
This is the shut your mouth game, isn't it?
No, this SmackDown
Know your
2.
role in it.
Aye, SmackDown 2, know your role.
First time that you could create a wrestler, supposedly create a superstar. According to the wiki.
Right, okay, yeah. I'm
I
there.
don't think that's true.
Well, you could store up to 5 finishes as well, couldn't you? I remember that.
Yeah. Which was so funny because you could build it up by taunting, so all you needed to do was get your opponent outside the ring.
Yeah.
Right, and spam the taunt button, and you could select the taunts as well, so you could purposely pick the ones with short animations. Like,
Yep.
there are speed runs of the story mode that basically run off that. It's brilliant. But next up, Just Bring It, which was I believe the first one on PS3, PS2.
Yeah.
For me, this was an S.
This was a mint game.
Yeah, the jumping graphics alone, the roster was huge. The single player had some depth to it for the first time. It wasn't just simulate matches. There was like cutscenes in between, and
You had the loading screens as well that were always pretty cool.
Yeah. So I'm gonna whack that an S.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree.
And the main reason we're doing that is because the next two in the series, and I'll say just now, for me, are S plus, which is Shut Your Mouth and Here Comes the Pain.
Here Comes the Pain is the absolute best one for me.
Yeah,
Here Comes the
It's
Pain.
the daddy. Like, even when it came to the Creator Wrestler, they were all the SmackDown games were pretty good. But
Yep.
from the parts available, you can make pretty much anyone. Some of the moves you could use for finishers and movesets were incredible.
Yeah.
To this day, when I do like prediction week stuff and in character stuff, I use the leg hook choke slam that was in Here Comes the Pain.
Yeah.
It looked like, that's the thing about the games as well, is they made finishers that in real life don't look that great, but they add so much impact to them in the games.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking at some screenshots of that, of Here Comes the Pain now. And there is a page called Keeping a Classic Wrestling Game Alive, and someone has made Seth Rollins and Sheamus. And it looks mint. And now I really want to play this game.
Exactly, and even though it's PS2 era graphics, they still hold up.
Yeah, of course they do.
It's aged like a fine wine.
Yeah.
Though, strangely, once they moved away from the SmackDown exclusive games and moved on to SmackDown versus Raw, Like, for me, they could have dipped a little bit back. At least the first two did. The expanded roster, it's basically a post-brand split as well.
Yeah.
So it's more of a focus on outperforming the other brand. I can't recall if GM mode was in this first one or whether it came in 2005.
I think it was in.
Rate, you're a fact checker, it seems, at the moment. Do you double check for me?
What's this? SmackDown versus Raw?
Yeah,
Yeah, the first one. I'm
Who's-
sure it was in.
that's the first one to have the GM mode.
Yeah,
I'm convinced.
it's not mentioning it.
Maybe 2005 is the first one.
I'm googling it now.
Creative Championship was on there, if that helps.
Yeah, there's nothing that suggests that it was. So we'll go with it wasn't.
Oh, I remember the clean and dirty system on it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So, really, because of the short development time between the SmackDown vs. Raw games, I lump quite a few of them together, particularly SmackDown vs. Raw and SVR 2005.
Yeah.
Now, 2006, sorry, I'm getting myself muddled. SVR, the first SmackDown vs. Raw, is essentially 2005. It's 2006.
Yeah.
And that has the GM mode.
Yeah. SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, though, I was like, not to toot my own horn, but this was the game I was best at. I had the reversal timings down perfectly. It's
Yeah.
like I could read my mates' minds, or at least that's how they thought I was doing
Yeah.
it. But really, I just knew the point in the animations. But I really enjoyed it. I guess I put it on a par with Here Comes the Pain and Shut Your Mouth. I don't think I do.
No. I
No?
think
I put it a high S and drop the first two SmackDown vs. Raw games down to A plus, I think.
yeah.
2008 plus ECW. I had the Wii version, so I don't think it's fair for me to give my input because the Wii version was hobbled like crazy.
I just don't think it was that much different. It just included ECW. The game mechanics and everything about it were all the same. There wasn't anything introduced in the 2008 game that was different from 2007.
Yeah, so I'm tempted to drop this down to A just because they didn't do anything new with the series.
No.
They basically just updated the rosters and added a couple polygons.
Yeah.
Same with 2009.
Yep.
So I think that was the first one on PlayStation 3.
Yeah, an Xbox 360.
But yeah.
No, 2008. 2008 was on 360 as well.
Yeah.
So it's the PlayStation 3 as well.
So yeah, I'm going to drop this next to it because again, this was when they were very much in the rut of they came out again this year, update the roster, and they were falling into what I call the FIFA trap.
Yep.
They did have the Road to WrestleMania on there, which had the one with Mickey James, if I remember.
Oh yeah. It's getting bumped up to you. That was quite.
I hope that's not just based on Mickey James.
No, well, not entirely, but it was a decent story, to be fair, if I remember rightly.
Let me click it. Yeah, because you had different wrestlers, didn't you? I'm looking at it now. Yeah, it's Triple H, John Cena. The remaining three stories include Edge, Shawn Michaels, and Randy Orton.
2010, 2011, I skipped because I was at sea a lot during that time. When I was in the Royal Navy, so I don't really have much of an opinion on these. I've gone back and played a little bit, but nowhere near in depth as I did the other games in the series. So I'm
I think
relying on you two to offer some insight on these.
from 2010, it was a little bit more interactive, shall we say?
Yeah, I remember 2011 you could go backstage roaming and do mini quests and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, I think 2010 brought it in, so like you could pick your replies and stuff like that. It was just a little bit more interactive. And then 2011, they went like Ray said, the whole hog, and was just like you can wander around.
So A plus for 2010, S for
Yeah.
2011.
Yep,
Yeah.
that would be fair.
So at this point, they moved away from the SmackDown versus Raw branding. In the last two THQ games in the series, we've got first of all WWE 12. Again, I was at sea a lot during this time. I do remember playing it and they changed the button system. And I just wasn't used to it.
No.
Although it's become pretty much a standard now, I was very salty when I came back from PE thinking I was still good at wrestling games, picked this up.
And you absolutely weren't.
So for my saltiness on that, for me it's an A. Still a good game. But
Was this the
Yeah.
one with the British storyline with Sheamus where he ended up having a British team or something? I never remember. Was that a different one?
could be, I can't recall.
I can't remember neither. This was the start of the thing where they started bringing out like the different editions that you could buy. So you get like the normal one, then the platinum one.
But I'm gonna drop it to B.
You really are bitter, aren't you?
So much bitterness.
Yeah, that and the fact that like obviously there's not anything memorable that you two can really
No.
tell me about
No,
this
I
that
was
separates
reading it
it.
and I couldn't remember it.
So just that fact alone has to go lower down. So I did play a good amount of WWE 13. It was the last THQ game. And they could have really pushed the boat out to try and get as much in this last one as they could.
Yeah.
So I would go A plus for this.
This might have been the one where when me and my mates used to gather for pay-per-views, because this is what we used to do, there'd be like 5 or 6 of us, and we all used to play this before the pay-per-view came on to stay awake, and we used to do the championship scramble to see who was champion at the end.
Championship scramble matches were so much fun.
Yeah, they were. And like when there's enough of you playing, it's mint.
Never
We used to do it
forget
before every
Brian.
pay-per-view.
Never forget Brian Kendrick, who's a canonical WWE champion. If you include the championship scramble,
Yeah. Yeah, it was wild. I loved it.
which I always believe they should have done because for the ECW Rumble in that scramble match, they counted every ECW champion. So
Yeah.
they should hardcore champion. Sorry, so they should have counted every WWE champion.
Yep, 100%.
So next is the start of the 2K games from Take-Two Interactive. Starting off with 2K14. For me, this was very middle of the road. Again, it came with another button configuration, so just after getting used to the new setup, they changed it on me again.
Yep.
So again, saltiness kicks in a little here. And I don't remember much about the story.
I don't remember lots about the story. I just remember thinking, I don't like 2K.
Yeah, it was 30 years of WrestleMania, the story and stuff like that.
So obviously, keeping on a decent pace. I'm gonna just progressively drop the 2K games further and further down as we go.
Yeah, because they just got worse.
Yeah, they did nothing new with the formula. So 15, so 14 goes in A, 15 in B, 16 in B. Because the 16 one did have a decent story in it, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
With again a WrestleMania to WrestleMania. It may have been one of the first ones. Was it 17 was the first one? It was like you start out in NXT.
No, I think that was 16, wasn't it?
Was it 16?
I think so.
In that case,
Oh, I don't know now, actually. I'm looking at 17 screenshots, and there is NXT in this. So you could be right, actually.
yeah, I'm sure it was 17. I'm sure the comments will tell us if we're
Yeah.
wrong on that, but based on the NXT start to the story alone, this'll, and spoilers, this will be the only 2K game that'll make it in the A plus tier.
Yep.
2K18, do not remember it. Don't even remember the promotion for it.
That says it all. Rollins on the front.
So that goes in
Yeah.
B.
Yeah.
Same with 19.
I think 19 was the last one I brought.
And can anyone hazard any guesses where 20 is going?
The bin?
Oh, in the bin, yeah.
Our first F tier.
That is the absolute single worst game I've ever played.
I've played a lot of terrible games in my time. I won't go as far as to say it was the worst game I've played.
I will, if wrestling wise, I will. I probably have played some terrible games.
Yeah, this was god awful. Especially on Switch, which was the version I had.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolute F tier all day. 2K22 though has been a return to form. The creator creator wrestler, the story, the fluidness of the graphics and in ring,
Yeah.
better. It's still not S tier, but it's back up at A plus for me.
Yeah, I won't disagree with that. It's and if they continue on that trend, then the games will be better. But do we trust?
Well, they've extended the contract, so did get at least another 2 more out of them. Take us up to 2K24.
Omos is going to be on the cover. Tell you now.
So that is our modern games, or at least modern licensed games, all covered. Let's take a little trip back to the past now, starting with WWF WrestleMania on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now, if any of you guys or any of our viewers have watched The Wrestler in Randy the Ram's trailer, they're playing WWF WrestleMania, but it's a modded copy that's modified Hulk Hogan to be Randy the Ram. But it was essentially the first non-arcade wrestling game available, at least licensed game
Yeah.
in the Western world, apart from some obscure Japanese ones that came out on the PC Engine and stuff at the time. But yeah, for me, nostalgia-wise, I didn't get my hands on this until about 93, 94, after I'd already bought my Super Nintendo, but I still enjoyed going back and playing this.
Yeah.
Its place in history alone makes it at least B tier, as limited as it is, and it is super limited.
Yeah, it
But
wasn't all that.
by the time I'm being too rose tinted with it, I think it might be. I'm gonna go C.
Yeah. The next one wasn't much better though.
Yeah, they added two wrestlers to it. For WrestleMania 2.
Yeah.
That was it. And I'm pretty sure that DiBiase was a palette swap of Macho Man.
Yeah.
So that is a C, but I'll put it behind WrestleMania 1. Super WrestleMania on the Super Nintendo was essentially an arcade port of the arcade machine by Midway in the early 90s. It's a decent port. Again, the roster's a bit lacking, but this is the first one where you get the kind of chiptune versions of the themes. Rate, who set his thing to Real American. If you haven't recently, go back and listen to the version from Super WrestleMania. I'm getting like goosebumps just remembering it because I played the hell out of this game when I was a kid. So I am gonna go A. I don't know if there's any objections to you guys.
I have not got an objection for you.
Oh, I've not played it, so I can't argue with that.
So next up is WCW Super Brawl in the Super Nintendo. I didn't have the same connection to WCW back then as I did with WWE, so I didn't recognise any of the guys apart from Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
So for me, I would put this as a B. It was essentially the same game as Super WrestleMania, but with WCW.
Yeah.
Because, fun fact, LGN did games for both of them initially.
Yep.
Before the rights were passed on to Acclaim.
I just had to listen to the Hulk Hogan tune. I agree.
So next up is WWF Raw. I have a boxed complete copy of this for Super Nintendo, but objectively the better version is the Genesis / Mega Drive version.
Yeah.
I will put this in A tier next to Super WrestleMania.
Yeah, I've got no objection.
Again, because the 16-bit themes, especially on the Genesis on the Mega Drive, were much crisper. It was like full MIDI almost. Plus the roster had more of my favourites on it.
Yeah.
Next up is Royal Rumble, which again was cross-platform between the Mega Drive / Genesis and Super Nintendo. And it had the Royal Rumble mode in it, which was really fun. It was basically a gauntlet as opposed to having loads in the ring, but it was still really fun. And like me and my mates used to take turns seeing how long we could get on English Rumble mode. See how many times that we could eliminate Bret Hart.
Nice.
I'm gonna put this A plus just for the nostalgia of that mode pretty much alone. The next two were Mega Drive / Genesis exclusives. Sadly, I never got my hands on until very recently, so I've not actually had a chance to play them.
Yep.
Have either of you played Steel Cage Challenge or Rage in the Cage on the Mega CD?
I didn't play Rage in the Cage.
I have not played either.
But I did play the Steel Cage Challenge.
Where would you put it then, buddy?
B at best. It was one of them where when you're a kid it held your attention, but it's not something you'd play for hours and hours.
Yeah. So in that case then I will put Rage in the Cage, which I think might have even just been an expansion.
It would Yeah, it probably was actually.
So I'll put that in the never played since neither of the three of us have.
No.
The last Super Nintendo game, WWF King of the Ring. I would put this as a B because I didn't think there was that big an upgrade from Raw other than obviously the King of the Ring tournament mode.
Yeah.
And again, this was arcade port. So I'm going to go B tier on that. Unless there's
Yeah.
any objections.
None.
Next up is WrestleMania 2000.
The best game ever.
Well, I would argue that the next one is, but it is indeed S plus. The
Yeah.
Aki engine is the best wrestling game engine, and you can
Remember-
fight me on that. You will lose.
You could do stupid things in WrestleMania 2000, like if you change the wrestlers' gears, the video package at the start of the game would change their gear as well. So you'd have
Yeah.
like Kane and a DX top at the start of the game for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I played it so much.
The
Same.
story was great as well. So it's S plus. What's for me ahead of it in S plus is No Mercy, because the customization is even greater, and the story like would branch off. If you lost, it would basically like take you a different path. It wasn't like the end of it. And there were some
Yeah.
matches you had to lose in order to progress the story. Like it's just so ingenious, and for it being a wrestling game from year 2000, 22 years ago, to be doing stuff that modern wrestling games are struggling with.
Yeah.
To the point that AEW, despite their seeming problems with graphics and stuff, were determined to get Yuke Tsunaki to do the new game,
Yeah.
purely based off of WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy. The WCW games for that, I'm gonna put S, but a high S, and that's only because I don't share the same nostalgia for them.
Yeah.
But obviously, they were just as good as No Mercy and WrestleMania 2000 from a engine point of view, even if the story's a little lacking. So I'm saying that purely because I wasn't as into the characters of WCW as well, so
Yeah.
could be a little bit biased on that. But
Yeah.
moving on, we've got Legends of WrestleMania, which was Dreamcast, GameCube.
Never had Dreamcast or GameCube, so
I believe it was an OG Xbox as well.
no.
Yeah, honestly, I never got my hands on this one.
No, I didn't.
Rate, what about yourself?
Legends of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I can't remember playing it now. I'm having a look at it now. I don't think it's now. I've not seen it.
That goes into never played down. Royal Rumble on the Dreamcast. It was decent, though the story was a bit lacking. What I'm gonna do though, just to help with the formatting, is I'm gonna chuck 2K15 and 16 down into C. But 2K18 as well can go down there, just to make room for Royal Rumble and the B tier. Any objections to that?
No.
Very empty E tier as well. This is weird. Next up is WrestleMania X8 for the GameCube. I played a lot of this back in the day. I went Rob Van Dam, like for most of the story. It was decent. Obviously, there was limitations with the small disc size of the GameCube, but it was okay for what it was. I'm going to go A with this and B with WrestleMania 19. Are there any objections to that?
Got none because I didn't play them.
You'll notice that because it's GameCube, I am pretty much overtaking it because I doubt either of you played much GameCube. Never mind
Nope.
GameCube wrestling games.
No.
WrestleMania 21 was white pants, so I'm gonna go D tier with that one. That's the first one on the Xbox. They actually had to recall because there was a game breaking bug in it. So I had one of the first runs of that game, and then they asked me to send it back in. I ended up just trading it in game. I think I got about £4 for it, even though it had been out like 3 months at this point.
And you ruined someone else's life. Well done.
Do I feel bad about it? A little bit. But is it my fault that game don't test their products beyond giving the disc a quick look at?
Yeah.
Day of Reckoning, 1 and 2, were a bit poor and forgettable in my opinion. They were quite glitchy and buggy as well. Not to the as bad as 2K20, but weren't short of faults. Do you guys have anything to add on that, or?
No, I am. I'm happy
I'm
with
in
what
the
you just
dark
said.
with what is happening now. Just in the dark.
Day of Reckoning 1 and 2 on the GameCube. Both poor, both literally chucked out to get contractual obligations done.
I'm not familiar with them, so
Yeah.
Next up is Raw on the OG Xbox. It's weird, the entrances weren't quite right. Even though the Xbox had like huge disk space, you could even like you obviously had all your own music saved on the hard drive.
yeah.
That option was not available on Raw, even though it was kind of hyped up to be. There has been fan mods that are out there that have updated it so that it can use that. If anyone's got a soft modded Xbox, you can download this and it'll have that capability. But bear in mind, this game came out at the same time as Here Comes the Pain and Shut Your Mouth.
It was never going to do well.
Yeah, it was awful in comparison.
Yeah.
So I might actually drop that down to D. Raw 2 was better because you did have that option. The gameplay was a little less buggy. The animations were smoother. But it still wasn't a patch on the PlayStation games at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go C tier on that. Next up, if anyone remembers the TNA Impact game.
This was the one with the story mode with suicide, wasn't it?
Yep, this is where Suicide came from. For Christopher Daniels being made to put on another mask.
I enjoyed this game.
Yeah.
The game itself was actually decent.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put it in B tier. I'll put it in C tier, but I'm bumping Mayhem up to A tier. But like a low A tier, just to make some room.
Yeah.
Next up, the very arcadey WWE All Stars.
I remember that being pants. Well,
I
I
remember,
can't remember enjoying it.
I remember enjoying it.
I don't remember it, so we all have different recollections of the game.
Well, I was initially looking at it, but gauging your two's reaction. I'm
I'm gonna just give me a second. Let me have a look, because if I look at it, it might jog my memory. But like just thinking about it, I don't remember it.
I actually go B tier.
Good, bring it down more.
It came on the 3DS. No, everyone looks. No, I don't remember that. Everyone looks too beefy.
I know, but I quite enjoyed the cartooniness of it and like the height that you would get on choke slams and stuff.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that arcadey side of it, but that was when I would pick it up, play a couple matches, put it down.
Yeah. It's just looking at the Miz ripped. Just doesn't look right.
Speaking of what being ripped and not looking right, Battlegrounds.
Oh, yeah, what a weird game.
It was so microtransaction heavy.
Yep.
So for me, that drops it right down to E. I don't care how decent the gameplay was.
Yep.
It was like literally more than half of the roster was DLC.
Yep.
More than half, which is unforgivable.
I downloaded it for free.
Yeah, I've downloaded it for free, but still I've never played it.
Played it once. Did not like it.
So from a game with a somewhat limited roster, especially if you weren't willing to pay for DLC, the one with a potentially limitless roster, Fire Pro Wrestling, the first one, which I believe is 3, is branded as the first one over here, but it was 3 in Japan, I believe.
I have never played any iteration of this game.
I played it recently and I wasn't a fan, I'll be honest. I understand like the editing and stuff on there, but it was just as soon as you do one match, it's the same match.
So what I'll say is, like, gameplay wise, for actually taking part in matches, the button system is quite hard to nail down. It's one of those kind of easy to learn but very, very difficult to master.
It seems random. It just seems like random generated, the button system. Like you may hit your move, you may not.
But the essential simulation mode, I'll call it, because it wasn't so much a GM mode, it was like simulation. Like I would set up matches and let them go for hours, like set up like deathmatch tournaments and stuff. So for me, I'm gonna put this as an A. Though I know several people who would put this as an S plus because they were actually god gamers who were actually good at the game.
Yeah.
But from that to something completely different, Backyard Wrestling 1 featuring ICP, Insane Clown Posse.
I love Backyard Wrestling.
Whack it straight into D.
Oh, I love the iterations of it. It's just stupid.
See if the gameplay was decent, I would get more into the dumbness of it. But because of how glitchy and like you would get grappled 3 foot away from someone, like 3 foot out of reach, you would still end up in a grapple.
Yeah, it was stupid.
And can I state for the record that Simpsons wrestling wasn't an option available in this, but I would put that as S plus. Fight me.
Oh, I love Simpsons wrestling. What a stupid thing, like Barney's burping move and flipping Willy with his yeah, it's a good game.
Yeah.
Backyard Wrestling 2, I'm gonna put just right next to it. Decent soundtrack. A decent soundtrack if you discount the ICP songs. Right.
It's just you don't like the mud shows, that's what it is, isn't it?
I will say the Violent P and what are their names again? Like Violent J and whatever the other one's called.
Slimy 2, Jaggy Jope. Shaggy 2 Dope on it.
Shaggy 2 Dope, aye. They are serviceable wrestlers.
Wasn't Andrew WK in this game, if you remember, the singer?
Yeah, he was DLC. Or unlockable, I should say. Which is part of why the soundtrack was so good. But it's still D tier game. A really weird one. I don't know if you'll have played this, right? But Rumble Roses. I don't know honestly why it's in here. I would classify it more as a fighting game than a wrestling game.
It rings a bell, that's the worst thing. I'm just going to have a quick check. I have played this.
You know the kind of typical Dead or Alive, Tiggle Bitties,
Yeah.
Tiggle Physics.
I remember buying it, running what it was, because I just saw a wrestling ring and I went, oh, I might enjoy this. Yeah, it's just a typical fighting game.
Yeah, it's a fighting game in a wrestling ring. But fun one. So I'm going to put it in C.
Women, aye.
Has nothing to do with the jiggle physics. And for anyone that's not into games, that is exactly what it sounds like.
Jiggle physics. Oh.
What I'm also going to do is to make some room is I'm going to bump SmackDown and SmackDown 2 up into S tier. Warzone up into A+. Because we're running low in room. ECW up in A+. Legends of Wrestling. This was basically all the kind of Hall of Famers that weren't signed directly to WWE at the time. So you had your Bret Harts, your Hulk Hogan's, along with bios about them. Had an interesting story system where you would like come up through the territories. It's one of those games, though. It was very much good idea, poor execution.
Yep, did not like this game.
And I'll tell you why. This was Acclaim, who basically just reused their engine from Warzone.
Yeah.
And you could tell. So,
yeah.
The first one goes in D tier. Second one, the graphics are improved slightly, but it's not big enough leap forward, so that was D tier.
I really enjoyed Showdown.
I was going to say Showdown was
The
up
roster
at C.
was incredible.
Even though the bios that you unlock at the end, they're inaccurate because it says that Bret Hart was made to retire after a vicious chair shot, not because of the super kick from Goldberg. The chair shot may well have been the final nail, but that wasn't the reason for it. It would have been like massively concussed and then came back too early. Where perhaps they shouldn't have even come back at all. But next up, we've got the Game Boy Color games. They're in here as wrestling games, but spoilers: the Game Boy games aren't wrestling games. They're side-scrolling beat-em-ups and RPGs. And they are clunky. They do not hold up well. The Betrayal, which is the first one, has like a roster of 4. The Rock, Undertaker, Triple H, and what is he, Stone Cold?
I think it is.
X8, WrestleMania X8 was the side-scrolling beat 'em up. So that's another E tier. Survivor Series on the Game Boy Advance is a bit better. It is this time actually an in-ring wrestling game, but a very poor and funky one.
Yeah.
And you're incredibly zoomed in. So whenever you would Irish whip someone, it'd be off screen for a minute. I say a minute, like a second or two, but still. Road to WrestleMania was a decent RPG. So that'll go D tier. The DS version of SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. I never got my hands on it.
Same.
No, I never touched it.
So that'll go never played. Same way 2010.
Yep.
DNA Impact on the DS. I never got my hands on either. Did you guys?
No, I didn't have a DS.
One have played through an emulator. And my mate had a Nokia Engage. Although I asked and asked and asked my dad to get one, I never got one. But I have played an emulated version of it, WWE Aftershock. It's awful.
Yeah, it's
It's the only other game so far that's going F tier for me.
yeah,
Again, it has the handheld problem of being super zoomed in, but worse because you're not playing with an actual gamepad, or at least game buttons. You're using your basically telephone keypad to play it. Awful, awful game.
yeah. It is not good.
Modern mobile game of AEW Elite General Manager. Have either of you two played this?
No.
Nope, my phone wouldn't even. I tried to find it, my phone just didn't even accept it existed.
I've not played it either. I included it in the list in case you had, but that goes and never played. Next one is the latest Fire Pro. Fire Pro Wrestling World. Or
I think this is the one I played. Yeah, I don't get on board with it. I think it's just me.
I believe this is the one I played on Steam because it had the New Japan license.
Yeah.
Again, for me, I'll put that in A tier because although I am not good at doing the actual matches, it was fun doing the endless creation, setting up tournaments. Like you could set up a G1
Yeah.
and a best of Super Juniors and stuff. So for that alone,
Yeah.
being able to set up simulations was great. And the Steam Workshop as well made it incredible because you could literally download anyone.
Yeah.
Another mobile RPG, Wrestling Empire.
Yes.
No.
I'm gonna go eighth. Well, I'm gonna go B tier, and I'll tell you why. Because Empire 3D was better.
I just love them.
But yeah, basically RPGs with some in-ring bits to it, but most of it was like being a bagman and getting tells to the boys and refereeing matches and basically building yourself up from an absolute nobody to.
And no one was licensed. So you'd have like Ric Flair was called Perry Class. I can't remember the stupid names.
Well, I'll put the series in order of B through A plus, with Wrestling Empire and B, Revolution in A, and Revolution 3D in A plus.
Nice.
WWF Crush Hour, which is the Demolition Derby game.
I enjoyed it.
I'm gonna put this S.
Did you say F or S?
S.
F.
Okay, that makes me feel better. I was like, why you went, I'll put this in it, and I thought you were
S
going low.
for Sierra. Yeah.
Hotel, Echo.
No, you spell that wrong.
Yes. It's Hotel India. Cool.
Oh, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Jailed.
Worst thing is I work for a fucking car company.
WWF with Authority.
Never played it.
Don't
Never
remember.
played it.
I remember seeing adverts for it, like you know, on the hour-long cut-down versions of like Afterburn and stuff that used to be on Sky
Yeah.
One on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
I would always see adverts for it, but I never played it. Have you ever played it, Rate?
No.
That goes in the never played. Second last one. Remind myself what this is. WrestleFest.
No, I never played it.
No idea.
And one I've been playing a lot recently. Retromania.
Also, never played it.
It's a mobile game, obviously. It's how can I put it? It's basically an RPG. And funnily enough, like a few of the YouTubers I watch are actually like cameos in the game.
Right.
The game itself isn't that much to write home about, which is why it goes in D. Because I pick up and play it a bit, but it won't hold your attention for hours. So I would go E tier with that.
Right.
I've not included the likes of WWF Champions, Supercard, any of those games because they're just gotcha mobile games.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing them. Although I am a big Supercard player, I don't think it's fair to count that. Because unless you're willing to put loads of time in grinding, it's not fun.
No.
And I'm not.
No, same.
So-
I haven't got time.
So that is our list, everyone. I will share this out and let you all have a go at this yourselves. If there's any that you think we've treated harshly or we've wore rose tinted glasses and placed too high, tell us about it. Note it in the comments. If you're in our Discord, let us know there. And speaking of the Discord, the link to join our Discord is in the description of this video, as always. I've not been doing enough to promote that recently. Apologies for that. But
That's on all of us.
yeah.
I don't think I've ever promoted it, so that's on you.
But as we said earlier, links to all our socials are in the description below, including our Twitter handle, which is at honor_club. That's honor with a U because we are British. And for next week, I'm going to take a little break from the TierMaker Tuesdays just for 1 week because, and this is news to Frozzy and RateWrestle, I have made an agreement with another YouTube channel to react to one of their videos.
Oh, PewDiePie.
Not PewDiePie. I'm not going to say what the video is, at least on air. I might tell the guys once we finish recording.
Yeah. It's not Kid Bandit.
Don't think he's in the video.
Vince McMahon in
sorry,
there. Just Vince McMahon.
I don't think they're in the video. Apologies.
Right.
But yeah, that is our show, everyone. So if you guys get anything final you want to add before we see
No, I
these
feel
guys
like
on?
everything was plugged. But yeah, definitely join the Discord because we have not put that over enough.
Yeah, do that. DP's a disappointment. Move on.
So,
It's funny because he's just messaged asking
Yeah,
if
I just saw.
he was going to come on with us tonight, and he's got stuck in all sorts of traffic, and now he thinks we're still waiting for him. So I might just tell him we are.
Oh, we should start it again, as in like they just pretend we're starting again, waiting for him. That'd be hilarious.
oh no, we're not that cruel. They love you really, DP. And
Yeah.
if you play your cards right, you might get in Thursday's show. So
Yeah.
the real strike is on Thursday as well, so he might have the same issue.
Yeah.
If he wants to be on, he'll just need to stay at his work and record from there.
Or not go to work.
Commitment.
So, speaking of Thursday, we'll see you on Thursday for the podcast as per normal. But
Yes.
thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see
Cheers,
you later.
guys. See you later.
Goodbye.
See.